Hello, everyone, and welcome to South Asian Artists in Conversation with the wonderful Payal Mistry. Thank you so much for joining me, Payal. Could you just tell everyone who you are and just a little bit about yourself?
God. So my name is Payal Mistry. I'm from Leicester.
Big up, Lester.
Big up Leicester. So I trained at UCLan and so did Artie. We were both actually in the same year and in the same group. And we both graduated 2019. Feels so long ago.
It does. I
Um,
can't believe it's been like 4 years. I feel like the time
yeah.
is just going so quickly.
I think that's COVID though. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
COVID really messed up my time frame.
for sure.
Um, Yeah, I think I graduated and then we both kind of got agents and then we kind of just went straight into work and
Mhm.
part-time work as well.
Yeah, yeah. The mix of both. And what could you tell everyone, you might have mentioned it, but a bit about where you train and what the course actually involved, just for people
Yeah.
sort of like thinking of your training and they're not sure like if it's for them.
So we both went to UCLan, which is a university in Preston. Um, I got told about it by my tutor in college because I was auditioning for a lot of drama schools and she had gone to UCLan. So she said,
Okay.
I wouldn't put it by you. I would try and go for this and see how you feel. It could be a last resort, but just, don't second guess it. Just go for it. And I did. And I absolutely loved the audition space. And I loved everyone, the tutors as well. They were incredible. And it was a drama recognized course as well.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
So I think you get drama accredited and then drama recognized, and we were drama recognized.
Yeah.
So the courses were it was quite similar actually. And the modules were actually very similar. Um, I think for me personally, I just needed to work on myself and actually have that uni experience.
Yeah.
So I kind of went for that. But we did a lot of everything.
We did. And yeah, I think there's this whole stigma when people say, oh yeah, you did like drama or acting at uni, and what the course was, it was, I think, like they technically wanted to be a drama school because it was a university. They didn't have the same like allowance with the hours, but all the training that we did was so similar to what you do at drama school.
Yeah, exactly. And it did say acting BA on, so I was like, must be. They can't just give us an entirely different course. It has to be kind of the
Yeah,
same if it's the same
yeah,
degree.
yeah, for sure.
Um, what I'm really thankful for is biomechanics. And I think
Hmm.
you are as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
I feel so lucky to have learnt biomechanics. Big up Terence because
Shout out to you too.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
watching.
we learnt so much, and I think it's actually so integral to learn biomechanics
Yeah.
when you're training to be a performer. So I'm really fortunate to have learnt the kind of foundations of that technique. So yeah,
And in terms of like biomechanics, for everyone like who doesn't know, it was mainly just to sort of connect the body with what we were doing with our voice as well, and make every kind of movement very like precise and defined. And did you kind of feel going in terms of physicality, you weren't always sure what to do with it, and do you feel like biomechanics really helped you figure that out, or like what would you
yeah.
feel like helped you with the most?
I think there was always I actually can't remember what they were called, but they were three at Caspersil Stoica, and it
Yeah.
was a
Hmm.
system of movement. So starting off, and then the actual movement, and that being really controlled and
Hmm.
holding that tension when you're moving, and then Stoica, which is stopping and stopping with kind of like a succinct, deliberate way instead of it being really, I don't know, just a
Just
bit
all over the place. Yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place.
Hmm.
And that really helped. And when I went into biomechanics, I had no idea what I was doing. And what was so fascinating was that our tutor Terence said, you won't understand biomechanics until you've done this entire these two modules. You'll just be
Hmm.
so curious and you just won't get it. And that was me the entire time. I was like, I have no idea what
Yeah.
this is. Until I left and I was like, oh damn, like I learned some crazy stuff without actually realizing until I
Yeah.
left. So, but I think it really helped because you use your body as a tool for expression,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And it emphasizes precision, control, being dynamic. And we did like a rigorous training where we had to do the slap and like throwing the rock. And it was just, it was so crazy. But yeah, it was really essential, I think, for our training.
And what you said about you don't realize at the time, and then you kind of, I don't know, you find yourself accidentally doing it, like random, like even just like when I'm on the London Underground, sometimes when the train stops, I just like naturally find myself like just doing biomechanics so I don't fall over. Even just like stuff like that, but like even in performances and stuff, you naturally kind of learn to do it, which I think it is hard at first, but then it becomes easier when you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. That's so funny about the tube. You do actually find yourself doing like those kind of small stuff. I do that when I'm on the overground or the tube and I'm standing, and I try to not hold on to anything, and I try to like pick myself up and not toppling over. It's so stupid, but it's like it's actually
so helpful because like everyone else is just trying to find it. We're like, we know what to do. We know. And what about the kind of like the voice kind of stuff? How did you find that has helped you?
Gosh, voice. I didn't have any kind of vocal work before training. So I felt very vulnerable showing my voice, and the spoken word kind of module that we did, where we had to pick a passage of writing and say it to a group of people, that was absolutely terrifying. I don't ever want to do that again. But it allowed us all to be confident and to use our voice as a tool for expression in the same way as biomechanics is, using your body. And then we did singing as well, which I think more than anything, like looking back, I wish I did it again with knowing what I know now and having the confidence that I know now.
The singing or just like the whole course?
Singing, maybe the whole course, but especially the vocal side of things. I don't think I pushed myself that much because it was quite terrifying. It's so vulnerable, like showcasing that kind of side of your voice. And we used to do viewpoints.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work with Pan Theatre as well. And you went to France actually.
Yeah.
That actually might be really useful talking about it.
I think with the voice stuff, I think it was the kind of the ugly side of it. I think there's that whole, you're scared to show the ugliness of your voice, but there's so much power when you do, because then you discover how far your voice can go. And with France, it was a very liberating experience, because it was quite like I feel like with drama schools we used to, and unis were used to a very sort of classical Western training, but then with France it was like an Eastern training, so it was just freeing up the voice, freeing up the body, and kind of moving with impulses. And in that space everyone discovered something completely different about themselves. So I think with the training, it shows that the classical and the Eastern approach, they both work, even if they're different. And you went to, was it Venice to do? Could you speak a little bit about that, because that was obviously a little bit different to the course?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a little walk around kind of theatre piece in an island called Giudecca, which is in Venice. So we worked with a group of UCLan students and a bunch of Italians as well, and we all kind of came together. There were songs that we sang and we found harmonies within, but not just Italian. It was German songs, French songs, English songs. We sang lullabies, and we did a lot of work on connecting with the body, with different people, essentially viewpoints, but in a very different way. And it was actually a very liberating experience working with Italians, or just working with people that you haven't trained with, and finding something fresh and new, and flourishing with that in some ways. I loved it. And it was actually really like strangely amazing. Like they had this clay, and we
Yeah.
like ripped it all over our face, and we had like red
Oh God.
marks. It was just actually like really crazy. And we
What
just,
was that for?
I think it was, so we were all a unit of people, and you
Okay,
couldn't
right.
really categorize who we were. It was just,
You're all one kind of.
yeah. But they do this, I've seen their previous stuff, and they do the same thing. They always wear kind of black clothing, and they like paint themselves with clay all over the arms as well.
And we are back, guys, after that slight technical error. Where were we? So you were speaking about, I think you were talking about the paint, no, the clay,
Oh yeah, yeah,
in Venice.
yeah. I mean, what I was going to say as well is like, I think with training, you're kind of conditioned to act in a specific way because you're learning techniques. So mostly it is classical, and then you've got Stanislavski, and then you're learning about Bertolt Brecht, and then you're learning about Meyerhold or Meisner, whatever it is. But you don't do experimental theatre that much. So not that what we were doing was experimental theatre necessarily, but it helped us to kind of like, essentially not to be a blank canvas, but bring out the authenticity of us, the rawness,
Yeah.
who we are as individuals, and what can come from that, you know, the beauty from that. So it wasn't exactly experimental theatre, but it was essentially just go a bit crazy
Yeah.
and explore your range and see how far you can go and see how timid you can be. And that was really fascinating. And I think that's why it terrified me, because
You're not
I
used
think
to it,
that,
are you? You're not used to pushing yourselves that much and discovering things about yourself.
yeah, so I think that was really fun that we had a taster of two things, because at that point you can open yourself, that opens yourself up to so many different avenues of work if you want
Yeah,
to.
for sure.
Kind of prepares us to do whatever in some
And
ways.
I feel like at uni the kind of training was a starter to kind of like build us up, like, you know, this is what to do. And like you said, the France and Venice stuff was more to like explore and discover new stuff. So I think they like complemented each other very well, even though they were very different.
Yeah.
And kind of going back to training at UCLan, how did you find like all the 3 different years? Like, did you find they were quite different, or you learnt more as you went on?
They were very different. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so first year was a lot of, there was theory involved,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of drama theory, but there was also, we did a Stanislavski module. We did the building up the foundation of biomechanics and the physical.
What's going on? Hey, you froze for like 10 seconds.
I
You
froze.
froze, yeah. Did I freeze as well?
Your thing just went.
What's going on? Who doesn't want us to do this chat? Come on, who's
No, it's
inspiring
not.
me?
My internet is actually really bad though, so.
No, it's not. I feel like mine is as well. It's just one of those days, isn't it? We'll power through. We'll power through.
What was I last saying?
Um,
Before I froze.
Stanislavski. Yeah.
Yeah, so in first year we did obviously biomechanics, Stanislavski, we did Shakespeare theory. We kind of built ourselves up. We like kind of became blank canvases and learned everything from, you know, from the beginning. And second year we did screen work and we did radio, and that was really exciting. We did spoken word, so we would get like prose and verse, and we did classical, and that was very, very like essential and, you know, important. And then we did biomechanics again, but we did it in, so the first year was singular, just on your own with a monologue, and then second year was with a group of people with whatever music you wanted. And then that was fun. And then third year was devising, so you could just
do whatever.
do whatever you want with whoever you want, and you had complete autonomy to make whatever. And I really liked that. It kind of built us for the real world, because sometimes you may get auditions, sometimes you'll have to create your own stuff if you wanted. There may be stuff that you want, there might be stories you want to tell, but there isn't stuff out there, so make your own, stuff. So I think that was really interesting. And then we did our final third year show. So it really built us like through the years to actually become performers.
I think something that you kind of did really well, like you said, I think in first year they kind of split it up. So we did just biomechanics, just voice, and I feel like they really wanted us to refine and focus on that. And then second year was about combining that together. And I think that's really helpful when because I found this, I think everyone found it really scary because it's literally you just standing there and it's just about your voice with nothing else. So I think it was really helpful separating it and then putting it together. And I think with this, I think our course did the screen work really well because I think it had more screen work than other places do. And I think it's so important because I feel like training places don't have enough screen work, and a lot of the jobs you go to do involve that. So it's so important to have that. And kind of going into the industry, do you feel like training as an actor has helped you in your craft and to where you are now, and how do you feel like that training has helped you?
I think more than anything, it's helped with my self-belief and confidence in understanding what I'm good at and what I'm not good at and what I need more help. And I think for me especially, I knew physically I was a lot more strong. I was stronger than my vocal side. So I would tend to go for workshops or even auditions. I would do better at those physically than I would do vocally.
Oh my God, I was going to play off this.
You're the opposite.
Yeah, I've had people always better at voice, and like they always tell me physicality is lacking. So honestly, I hold my hand. Yeah. So you find yourself drawn to like the more physical kind of.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's interesting that we both have opposite like experiences with that, because I think it's great that we both had the opportunity to do both things, vocal and physical, in such great detail that we know our strengths and weaknesses in different ways. And I think as well, like just learning techniques about Stanislavski, and they're kind of hit and miss realistically. Yeah. Some people like them, some people don't, but I know what I can take from it and what I can't. And I will say the only thing is most auditions I got in the first year since leaving drama schools was TV and TV work. And we did one or two modules on it, and it just wasn't enough. And that's not a go at the course or anything. That is every single training place out there. It's so funny how you leave most of your courses about performing and then it's all just self-tapes and trying to fit yourself in this tiny little camera and make everything really nuanced and small without much expression and really realistic, and you just don't get taught that as much. So I think for me and for everyone, I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone, but I think for a lot of people it's quite hard transitioning and getting self-tapes for TV, because you kind of really learn just from it's practice. Every tape is literally practice. So that was a big thing, trying to get my head around that aspect. But I felt really confident in kind of just the physical aspect, going in the room and just having a bit of fun and like jumping around, and that was really fun.
And like you said, with the screen stuff, like once it comes to the real world doing auditions, it is kind of just learning as you do it more, watching yourself back, watching your tapes back as well, because like you said, there's not enough training in terms of screens, so you kind of have to teach yourself and see what works best for you. And I think it's not spoken about, auditioning lots helps you become a better actor because you become so used to it and knowing what kind of works for you. And in terms, another thing that I feel like, again, it's not just the course, but I've heard loads of people say about drama schools in general, is I feel like there needs to be a module about the industry and marketing yourself as an actor, other jobs, and the business side of stuff. So like, you spoke a little bit about it, but What advice do you have for actors transitioning from leaving training to entering the industry? And that's about sort of like work, quiet periods, busy periods, just yeah, and anything you can kind of think of.
If you're not auditioning, you should still be working. And I don't mean in terms of selling yourself in like doing workshops and stuff. I just mean making connections and just
Mhm.
having a bit of a conversation and building that kind of community, especially with South Asians, because there wasn't a lot of us, like that many of us.
Yeah,
And you really, you're amazing. You really built this
thank you.
community up that it made it a lot easier for us to kind of be in contact with one another. But I think when you leave drama school, it's really less about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
It's about, and I think storytelling and making those conversations are really important to have, because you just end up being the voice for the voiceless, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that just is really inspiring. Um, and I think also when you leave, you kind of just, I will say with workshops, it's so important to actually be, what's the word, like consistent with working on yourself, even if it is just like doing self tapes at home just for yourself or learning a monologue. It may seem a bit useless, but you are actually training. You're like getting your
It's a
creative juice.
muscle, isn't it? It's acting's a muscle you have to keep
It really
training
is.
to get out of practice.
And you're inspiring yourself without really realizing. And I think it's so easy to just be quite stagnant when you leave drama school, and you're
Mm.
just waiting for the phone to ring, you're just waiting for that email, and you really do have to go out there. And if you can't find anything, write your own stuff, direct. You've been given all these tools and you're boxing
Mm.
yourself in. I
Yeah.
think it's really important to open yourself up to different avenues. We all as creatives, we're multifaceted beings.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
we have a lot of skills. So I think it's really important to kind of open up that worldview
Yeah.
when we leave.
And
Yeah.
the scary thing is, I think, I don't know if you're the same, but I was talking to some people on the course, and I was saying, whilst I'm at uni, I feel like, yeah, I'm a professional actor, all things are good. You're because you're always acting, you're always doing something, and then it's such a drastic change when you leave, because that security is not there, and you're like, okay, now this is the real world. What do I do? And you can't just, unfortunately, you can't wait for your agent. You've got to find stuff yourself.
We
Like,
do. And I wish they gave us more resources and more tools to kind of cope with that,
mm,
because I think the pressure does get to you. You do feel like it's a bit of a race sometimes when you leave drama school. You're so hopeful for like,
yeah,
oh, I'm so excited to leave drama school. I can't wait for all these opportunities. And then sometimes it comes, sometimes it
mm,
doesn't.
yeah.
And I think they really take it out on themselves. Like, what have I done? I should have just
Yeah.
listened to my mum and been a doctor. Like,
Yeah, I
oh,
don't. Why are we doing this? Like, life is instability.
it is. And I do really think pressure does not exist. I think we create it for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
for
we
sure.
are our own biggest downfall. So I think just constantly just working on yourself is the biggest help that you could ever find when you
Mhm.
leave. Yeah.
And I think I remember you were saying, in terms of like other like side jobs whilst you're not acting, did you say you had like an evening job so that you could be like free during the day to go for like castings and
Oh,
auditions? Like, I think I remember you saying you worked somewhere where
yeah.
you evening.
I work at a bar actually. I
Yeah.
work
Okay.
at a cocktail bar, and that's great for me because it's quite flexible.
Mm.
And I do just work evenings. So it will be 6 p.m. to a certain time, and it will be pretty full time, but it means I have my entire days free. So that's great. And then when I graduated, I worked in a burger joint. But these are things that you need to talk about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to
'Cause
talk about it, because everyone's surviving, everyone's making, they need to pay their rent, they need to pay like either their parents, they need to like fund themselves, they need to, if it is something they're wanting to create, they need to like be able to have money for it. It's a cycle of life. So Yeah,
It's expensive being a creative. I mean, there's like
it is.
so
And COVID as well. COVID is a big thing. I know we don't talk about it anymore, but it's still affecting people now.
yeah,
So having side jobs, or it's really important.
yeah.
And I don't think it should be looked down upon at all.
No, because even actors who are constantly working in between jobs, they've still got to survive, pay rent. You know, everyone's doing these kind of side jobs, and
Yeah.
it needs to be so normalized that that's the kind of way to get through.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move a little bit away from the training side and speak about something called Life of Pi, which you were in, which you were in, and I know your main role was Rani, but obviously in the production you played Pi. So how did it feel to make history and be the first female Pi? That seems amazing saying it out, and I bet it's
Oh,
like,
it's so
wow,
weird.
like you
It's
made history, girl. Honestly, props to you. That must have been such like an incredible feeling knowing that you were the first female to play Pi. How was that?
incredible. Like actually incredible, mind-blowing, electrifying. I I found it a massive struggle though
Yeah,
when I found out and I was rehearsing. I never and I this might sound like I'm joking. I never really thought about making history at all
yeah.
because
Okay.
my only focus was trying to survive and be good.
I get that. It's already there's
Know
so
what
much
I mean?
to already do. Like there's
Yeah.
so much pressure. Yeah.
And there was so much pressure and I felt like I had to do myself proud and do the directors proud, do people who like I'm standing on the shoulders, of people before me
Yeah.
who,
Hmm.
this is why me and you are here because of actors before us. So I'm like, I need to do them proud. I need to do my parents proud. I need to do the people on stage proud. And so much pressure that I did not think about being that first
Hmm.
female. But if anything, like I'm so happy and proud and lucky to be a part of something where that opportunity has come up, especially with Pi as a character, because Pi is the best example that you could use to open that kind of worldview up. Because I see Pi as just a person, as a life force.
Hmm.
So it creates a different story entirely, and you get a different emotional release out of it. It being played by a woman and not a man, but I think everyone can relate to that character. So I feel amazing to have like been in the
Represented that
yeah,
kind of character. Yeah.
definitely. But yeah,
And
terrifying.
I see what you mean about because it's such a massive show already. There's been a book, there's been a film, so I think that doesn't help because then it's like you feel like you have to live up to what's already been done, but at the same time you've got a whole show to carry. There's a massive audience. You've got to do the writing justice, the direct everything justice, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just as an actor you just want to think about yourself in the sense of like, okay, these are the lines, this is what I've got to do, but it does come with that whole pressure of no, this is a whole ensemble, a whole production you've got to live up
yeah.
and did it like honestly did you feel like you did it justice and like how you wanted to?
Yes and no. I think yes, because I did do the work and I felt like when I was on stage, I felt so invigorated and I felt so powerful being able to just own that stage
Mhm.
and be the person to move the whole story, and being that kind of catalyst. Um, and I really did like how I went about with playing that character as a female. But I honestly didn't have that much time. And most of the the first time I went on, I was just improvising and working
I
on my instincts. So nothing was set in stone really.
yeah.
And I didn't also have that much time in rehearsals to really work on Pi. So that's why it was so terrifying. And this is why I didn't really think about it being the making history, because
Mhm.
I was just thinking about how am I going to do this? Where am I? I don't know my stage directions that well.
Yeah,
So all of it was just instinct the entire time. So that's why I feel like if I'd have had more time in rehearsal, then maybe it would have been there would have been more room for improvement. But that's with every character, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that I did it and it became what it was in the very little time that I had. And you can't be hard on yourself.
No, you can't. You've like what I've learned, and I did a project earlier this year, is you've got to do like what you have with what you know and with the time that you have, and that's the best you can do. Because I think that's the thing that people don't see. Because I think with Life of Pi, there was obviously there were two main pies, wasn't it? And then I think for your production. So obviously it's not just okay, you've got all the time to rehearse, you know, they've got their time to rehearse too.
Yeah.
So that's three of you basically. So it's like you've got to share that kind of space. And did you, if you don't mind me asking, did you find out when you got the part as Rani, or was it into the production that they were like, oh, could you do Pi as well, or did you kind of know from the beginning?
So I auditioned for Rani twice.
Okay.
First time I didn't go my way, and then second time I did the Zoom call. And I really don't think they mentioned about Pi during that Zoom call.
Okay.
I think it was essentially for Rani, and they just had me do 2 scenes as Rani. And then I got a phone call from my agent and they told me, and then I had an email sent to me and it said, and second cover Pi.
Okay.
And I had no idea. So I then had to call my agent back and be like, are they joking?
Yeah, like it's
I can't do that. Like,
yeah,
terrifying. I was so like grateful, but also I was like, this is like completely outside of my comfort zone. I've never done anything like this before. This is like a game changer, and I have to move down to London. But yeah, they just said apparently so. You're going to be second cover Pi as well. So even in the first rehearsal period, I didn't do Pi. Sorry, I didn't do Pi at all.
okay.
It was Rani, and then we had cover rehearsal, so that's when I went on.
Yeah, I went on to do that.
Yeah. So it was a lot of just me watching and observing and just learning.
You learn a lot from that though, from other people watching how they do things as well. But yeah, gosh, that must be such a shock to the system, just kind of like coming out of nowhere, and you'd be like, wait, sorry, what? You want me to do Pi as well? But
yeah,
again, an incredible feeling it must have been. And what are some of your highlights on working on Life of Pi, like as both characters?
Oh God,
Must be so
many things. Warming up every single day has been like a dream, honestly. Because you'd see everyone on stage and like getting ready, but actually being a unit and just warming up together and just having a bit of a laugh at 10 a.m. in the morning has been amazing. Yeah, I love warming up. I also loved just playing pranks. I know that sounds so stupid, but like
No.
I honestly like I would do so many silly little pranks and just have so much fun with people.
What did you do?
We would just like, so in the top floor, it'd be like the girls' dressing room and the guys' dressing room, and they'd mainly be like the puppeteers and covers and stuff.
Yeah.
So we would just play, like, we would just go into each other's dressing room when no one was in and just move stuff around, maybe steal certain stuff and like go on their phones and just like absolutely just like change everything, like really harmless stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when they find out, it's like, oh my God. That was really funny. Olivier's is something that I constantly forget about, and I have to pinch myself every time. I'm like, I did that, like I performed. It's just, yeah.
Was it 7? Am I wrong? It was 7 Oliviers that it got, or was
7?
Congratulations.
Yeah, 7 awards for supporting actor. So they made history as well, which is absolutely incredible. And that was a really important just event to be a part of, because I think we actually did make history on multiple occasions that night, and it was just lovely to be together in that moment and share that kind of success with everyone. It was just crazy, but that was a highlight. But I think when I look back at Life of Pi, I just think about the memories I made with just everyone, you know, the constant like conversations, the banter, just the relationships I had, more than anything. So
And
yeah.
sometimes it is that banter and those conversations that when they say like the people make the job, they really, really do. Because like if it had been you'd work with people you didn't get along with, it would have changed the dynamics of the jobs. And sometimes it is the small things like the behind the scenes shenanigans that stick out and that you really remember.
Yeah, because you have to think about like Life of Pi and other West End runs, they are normally a year long. So we did 8 shows a week with 1 day off. And of course, personal life matters are gonna get in. People are they have to do a show which they don't want to do. They can't take time off.
Yeah.
So to have one person, make a bit of a joke and have that kind of, if they can find a form of escape in some way, it's memorable. It's a core memory. It's like, I really needed that at that time.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember you for. And that's what I remember that job for in some ways, So I think definitely it's the people you meet.
Yeah. And do you know what? That actually goes really well with the next question. And it's like you were saying, because with big productions where it's not just okay, it's like a few month project and then it's by, you were there for over a year, weren't you? So you're constantly there seeing people every day. So what advice would you have to other creatives who are about to embark on big productions such as Life of Pi, where you're required to be there every day and to be present?
I would just say, just have fun. Just have fun. And that's such an easy thing to say, but I think you are so lucky to be in a position where you can you're basically at an adult playground. And you've got the freedom to explore and fail and embarrass yourself. And the best things come from that. And that's what the rehearsal process is for. And I think, be focused, be present, do your research, figure out what you need from another actor and what they need from you, what you both need from each other, not as people, but also as characters.
Okay.
And then once you've solidified that, play around. And because I think with a show where you're doing 8 shows a week, it is so hard not to go into autopilot mode. It is so hard to keep things fresh and bubbly and quick on its feet. Sometimes it is a case of you just listening for when to say your line. But it's a new audience every single night. So you have to keep the energy going and make it fresh and exciting for them. You can't make it stagnant. So I think making it exciting for yourself, do something new, make something different, make a choice. And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, but be open to playing around.
Yeah, to playing around. Do you know, I was going to ask that because doing the same show every day for so long, you must, like you said, get into autopilot where you're like, you've done it and you've done it again and you don't want to make it boring, you have to make it fresh. Did you feel that every time you had a new audience, did that also kind of change the dynamic of the stage, or you still had to find ways to adapt to that?
The audiences we would get would be so different. So there'd be certain lines that there's set things that people would always laugh at. Certain lines everyone would always laugh at. So we know, okay, we're going to play that one big, or we're going to play this a certain way. And you'd have that one audience that just wouldn't.
Yeah,
and
we'd
like,
get it.
What's going on?
Yeah.
They're a bit quiet. And then we'd figure out they're being really focused. They're just a really focused audience. They'd be like, okay, cool, let's give them what they want. So we'd adapt on every single night, and we wouldn't know what kind of show we're making, to be honest with you. I think it comes down to how we feel when we first go on as individuals, like how we feel, what's the relationship with the audience. But I think it's just, I don't know, you kind of know what the audience wants, you kind of know what they want, so it's just kind of figuring that out. But yeah, every time you go on, it's just different, and you just don't know how
it's gonna go. Yeah. And I think that is very helpful if you're doing it again. It's nice that it feels kind of like a new show each time you do it, so it's not the same. And kind of obviously, like I said, you're there every day. Did you feel you know, like the balance of your outside of Life of Pi life and Life of Pi was quite easy, or did you find it quite difficult to sort of balance both?
I found it really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Really difficult because I moved to London and I knew no one.
Okay.
And I have a brother who has lived in London for like just under 10 years, and he said to me the first year of living in London is the hardest because it doesn't feel like home.
Okay.
And I really felt that. And I moved during winter time. So
no. Not the best.
Winter in London is just it's awful. It's actually so depressing. And I didn't know anyone. So my days off, I really didn't know what to do. It was really hard, actually. It's not only it was until I kind of left Life of Pi that I felt like I can do what I want now. I've got so much free time and I can really find out who I am. And I felt like I kind of only felt who I was with Life of Pi, and I wasn't anything outside of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was, for me, it's a really specific kind of experience. Not a lot of people would have that, but for me, it was really difficult to kind of juggle that personal life and work life.
No, thank you so much for being so open about that, because it sort of felt like you were like you were thrown into the deep end, because it's not like you were in London, you had like so much time to explore, and then that came up, you kind of pretty much straight away you were there, and then Life of Pi, and then you were on that, and then it's only recently, like you were saying, that you found that time to actually make these connections and really work on yourself with your new life in London.
Yeah.
No, thank you for being open. No, I think it's so important when people are very open about their experience, because I think it inspires other people who might be feeling the same and not knowing kind of what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I think the same thing. And I think imposter syndrome is also a massive thing that every actor is feeling. They don't really talk about, and I'm like, I know you're feeling it.
Everyone like experiences
Everyone. And I think when I first started, there was a lot of imposter syndrome, where I would even speak to the director and I'd be like, I don't know if this is right. This is how I'm feeling. Am I doing okay? And they're not things that you want to speak about because you don't want to be weak.
Yeah.
But I think weakness in itself is actually there is a lot of strength that comes from that, you know, just owning how you feel and talking to people. So I just kind of did that. I spoke to a lot of people in the cast of how I was feeling, and we'd have conversations and they talk about their experiences, and they said it would get better, and it did, you know. Just taking each, I think of things as like, don't look at the entire staircase, look at the step in front of you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
You know, that's how I've thought of it. I took each day as it came, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, focusing on it bit by bit as opposed to like the whole kind of
thing.
Thank you for sharing that. We're gonna shortly move on to fire round questions, but I've just got one final question. I always like to cover representation and the importance of it in the chat. What do you wish to see more of in terms of like representation of all kinds in the West End?
I think more importantly, representation and storytelling.
Okay.
Because I think, I mean, I will say, in terms of face value, representation for diversity, the diversity aspect is very important. And we have come a long way, but you still don't see enough of it. I still see tweets of West End cast announcements, and
there's not enough. There's not
enough.
And recently,
it's actually ridiculous. It's like, I don't have a lot of words for it, to be honest. It's just, I think because as well, like, it's so obvious what we all want. We're all on the same page. We fought for such a long time, and yet stuff like that keeps happening, and it's a kick in the teeth, to be honest. So I think opening up West End productions to more people of color, especially the LGBTQ community, in the South Asian community as well, I think that is very important. But also storytelling is massive. And one thing I do want to speak to you about is Exodus,
Okay.
because that story was essentially about Indian migrants who were expelled from Africa because of Idi Amin.
Yeah.
That was my mum, you know.
Yeah.
And
She was from Uganda.
yeah,
She was,
and
wow.
and that's why she came to Leicester. So that's how, you know, that we've had so many conversations about it. And I've not seen a single story about the Gujarati culture in anything. And I think we are still, like, we're going places, but I think there's so many nuanced kind of like there's so many nuances in cultures and behaviors and family life that we're still trying to find. And I would love to see more of that, especially in big productions like the West End or Broadway. But
yeah, oh my God, that would be amazing. And I feel like, yeah, it is getting there, but a lot of the time I am seeing it's about the kind of same part of history, which is obviously important that we do focus. But yeah, the stuff about migration from India to Africa to Europe, I've barely seen anything about that. So those stories, and also South Asians in the war. I mean, not just about South Asians. There's so many stories there that need to be told, not just the same ones, kind of repeatedly.
yeah,
And I feel like in TV and film especially, I think it's getting there. I'm seeing so much more. I think what is very much lacking is theatre and musical theatre. I think that still needs like a lot of work. So.
yeah, definitely. I would say the exact same thing, musical theatre. And I don't know what, I don't know if it's a really hard, I'm not a musical theatre performer, so I don't know how difficult it is to
No,
cast people who are, because to be a triple threat is really specific, you know. But I mean, I know quite a lot of people who are triple threats.
yeah. You
And
don't, or you do.
I do know, so I'm
Yeah,
like, if there were like open calls, I mean, I don't know how things are run, to be honest, but
yeah,
it would be good to see opportunities just being more open.
yeah. And the talent is out there. Like, you know, I know people and people know people. The talent's out there, so it's like not enough to say, oh, we've looked and we couldn't find. Like, there's available talent. So I think it's just making that effort, and one day we'll get there. But it's a slow
Yeah,
process, and you know,
it's a slow
it,
process.
it'll happen. We're kind of getting toward the end. I feel like time goes so quickly in these chats, and I feel like there's always so much to talk about. But I think yeah, we've covered so much in such a short space of time. Gonna move on to some fun fire round questions, as I'd like to end these chats. So
Okay.
hopefully they're not too difficult. The first one is, if you could have any other job, what would it be?
Any other job? Oh, I would love to be an editor or like
Oh,
work in media and like actually make stuff. I don't know, like
what
games or
games? I was gonna ask what
or
specific editing.
yeah, I don't know. I'd love to. I really do like games. I did mocap like recently, and that was so exciting because I've actually grown up playing games for such a long time. So I would love to be behind the scenes, actually making the games. But I would also love to be an editor. I don't know. It just seems really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh. If you could live anywhere else, where would it be?
Live anywhere else. Oh my gosh. I kind of just want to, I want to say Japan
Oh,
because it's,
Japan.
I don't know. I just love the city so much and I
Mhm.
really do want to travel there. I also would love to go somewhere remote and just be in a jungle and just be
Oh,
completely weird. Like they're two completely separate places, but somewhere
managing
really remote.
next jobs to be out there, putting it out there for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, what is your favorite cuisine?
I have to say Indian. Come on, I have to say Gujarati. It
Okay,
is incredible. It is incredible. Yeah.
it is good. Good. If you would you rather have a conversation with your younger self or your older self?
Oh,
A hard one.
that is a really hard one. Conversation with my younger self,
Okay.
because I think I would probably feel so much more confident in myself, and I'd probably make better decisions and just feel more certain about life. I don't
Yeah.
really want to know about the future. I don't really want to know
Yeah.
that. I think it takes the fun away, and
Yeah. Not
um,
the unknown.
yeah. So I'd rather talk to my
Really.
youngest.
And this is what I like to end with every person I speak to. What is one piece of advice you would give to younger Pyle, to your younger self? The hard
Oh,
one. Like, when I ask this, everyone's like, "There's so much." Like,
oh my God. Stop putting yourself down. I would say, because this is what I do now. Stop putting yourself down. Like, actually find worth in yourself. And I think that's because of family and pressure and parents and like wanting to be a certain way, social values, you know, patriarchy, all that jazz.
factors.
Yeah, I think don't be afraid to be who you want to be
Mm-hmm.
and find value in that. And yeah, just find confidence in that. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, that's a really good one to end on. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
we trained together, and now we're here having this conversation about our careers. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. I will be announcing more people to come, so yeah, stay tuned, everyone. Take care, Pyle. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.